Michelle Obama's message about believing in your own worth is one of the most powerful lessons she has shared throughout her life and speeches. She reminds people that confidence does not come from external validation, but from an inner understanding that you are enough as you are. From her early years on the south side of Chicago, she learned that the world will not always see your value or treat you fairly, but that should never stop you from knowing your potential. She often faced people who doubted her abilities or told her she was aiming too high. Instead of letting that break her spirit, she used it as motivation to prove that she belonged in every room she entered. Michelle's story shows that self-belief is not arrogance, it is courage. It is the quiet voice inside you that says, "I can do this," even when the world tells you otherwise. Believing in your worth means you stop measuring yourself against others and start focusing on what makes you unique. Everyone has something special to offer, but it only shines when you have the confidence to express it. Michelle encourages people to silence that inner critic that tells them they are not smart enough, not talented enough, or not worthy of success. Instead, she says, speak to yourself with kindness and strength. Build a mindset that fuels your growth rather than limits it. Confidence is not built overnight. It comes from small acts of courage, raising your hand when you're unsure, taking on challenges that scare you, or standing up for what you believe in. Each time you do something that stretches your comfort zone, you strengthen your sense of self-worth. Michelle also believes that self-belief is tied to purpose. When you know who you are and what you stand for, no one can take that from you. You become unstoppable because your motivation comes from within, not from applause or recognition. She reminds people that even the most successful individuals have moments of doubt, but the difference lies in how they respond to those moments. The real power is choosing to believe in yourself even when it's hard, because that belief is what shapes your destiny. When you recognize your worth, you begin to walk, speak, and live with purpose, and that confidence can change your entire future. Michelle Obama's belief in the power of education comes from her own life experiences, where learning became her greatest tool for transformation. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, she realized early on that knowledge could open doors that society often tried to close for people like her. Her parents, though not wealthy or highly educated, taught her that education was the path to freedom, confidence, and self-respect. Michelle often says that education is not just about getting good grades or earning degrees. It's about empowering yourself to think, question, and make choices that shape your future. She faced challenges as a young black woman entering spaces where few people looked like her, such as Princeton and Harvard, but she used her education to stand tall, proving that hard work and determination can overcome prejudice and inequality. For her, education represents more than academic achievement. It is a mindset of continuous growth and curiosity. She encourages young people to never stop learning, whether through books, conversations, or experiences, because knowledge fuels change. Education gives you a voice that cannot easily be silenced. It teaches you to think critically, to see the world through different perspectives, and to find solutions where others see problems. Michelle emphasizes that learning is not limited to the classroom. It happens in life, in failure, in service, and in reflection. She believes that curiosity is a lifelong habit that keeps you evolving and adapting in a constantly changing world. She urges students to seek education not for validation but for empowerment, to use it as a way to give back to their communities, lift others, and build a better world. Education gives you independence, not just financially, but mentally and emotionally, allowing you to make decisions with confidence and clarity. Michelle also points out that education is a great equalizer. It does not matter where you start, what language you speak, or what struggles you face. If you are willing to learn, no one can stop your progress. She often says that knowledge is power, and that power grows when shared with others. Through learning, you become more aware, more compassionate, and more capable of creating positive change. For Michelle Obama, education is the foundation of empowerment, a lifelong journey that transforms not just your circumstances, but your entire sense of purpose. Michelle Obama's reflections on overcoming fear and doubt reveal one of the most essential truths about success. It is never free from uncertainty. She has often admitted that even she, despite her achievements, has experienced moments of insecurity and self-doubt. During her early years in school, she questioned whether she was truly good enough to stand among the brightest students. Later in her career, whether as a lawyer, a community leader, or the First Lady, she faced intense scrutiny and criticism. But instead of letting fear dictate her actions, she chose to rise above it. Michelle believes that courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination to act in spite of it. Every person, no matter how confident they appear, faces moments of hesitation. The difference lies in how they respond to those feelings. She encourages people to see fear not as an enemy, but as a signal that they are stepping into growth. When something scares you, it often means you are pushing beyond your comfort zone, and that's where progress happens. Michelle reminds us that self-doubt can only win if you give it power. She learned to quiet her inner critic by focusing on preparation, persistence, and purpose. Whenever she felt nervous before giving a speech or taking on a new challenge, she grounded herself by remembering why she was doing it and who she was trying to serve. Fear, she says, loses its grip when your purpose becomes stronger than your insecurity. She also teaches that failure should not be feared because every setback brings valuable lessons. The only real failure is letting fear stop you from trying. Michelle's journey shows that no one reaches greatness without walking through moments of uncertainty. True confidence is built through experiences where you prove to yourself that you can survive discomfort and come out stronger. She urges young people to trust the process and to understand that fear is a normal part of growth. It is not a sign of weakness but of ambition. The key is to keep moving forward even when you are scared. Over time, each brave step you take builds resilience, clarity, and inner strength. For Michelle Obama, overcoming fear and doubt is not a one-time act. It's a lifelong commitment to believing that your dreams are worth fighting for, no matter how uncertain the path may seem. Michelle Obama's belief in serving others and leading with purpose is deeply rooted in her values and life experiences. She has always emphasized that true success is not measured by personal achievements alone, but by the impact you make on others. From her early work in community service to her initiatives as First Lady, Michelle has shown that leadership begins with empathy, compassion, and a genuine desire to help people. She believes that when you rise, you should lift others with you. Serving others gives meaning to success and creates a ripple effect that inspires change beyond your own life. She encourages people to use their skills, education, and voice to make a difference, no matter how small the action may seem. Whether it's mentoring a young person, volunteering in your neighborhood, or simply being kind to someone in need, every act of service builds a stronger, more connected society. Michelle often reminds us that leadership is not about titles or fame, it's about responsibility. It's about showing up, listening, and using your platform, however big or small, to make life better for others. Her initiatives like Let's Move, Reach Higher, and Becoming reflect her deep belief in purpose-driven leadership. She did not lead for attention but for transformation, focusing on children's health, girls' education, and the importance of authenticity. She encourages everyone to find a cause they care about and commit to it with heart and consistency. For Michelle, serving others is not a duty, it's a privilege that brings fulfillment and joy. She says that when you give back, you not only uplift others but also grow as a person, gaining perspective and gratitude. Leading with purpose means being guided by values, not popularity or reward. It means making hard decisions for the right reasons and staying true to what you believe, even when it's difficult. Michelle Obama's message is clear. The world needs leaders who care more about lifting people up than lifting themselves higher. She teaches that your legacy will not be measured by the things you collect, but by the lives you touch and the hope you inspire. Through service, you discover a deeper sense of meaning, and through purpose, you create a life that leaves the world a little better than you found it. Obama's emphasis on authenticity and staying true to your values is one of the most defining aspects of her philosophy. She believes that in a world full of pressure to fit in and please others, being yourself is one of the most courageous things you can do. Throughout her journey, from being a young girl on the south side of Chicago to becoming the First Lady of the United States, she faced countless expectations and judgments about how she should look, act, or speak. Yet, she learned that the only way to find peace and fulfillment is to live in alignment with who you truly are. Michelle teaches that authenticity is not about perfection, but about honesty, being real about your struggles, your dreams, and your values. She often says that people respect you more when you are genuine, even if they don't always agree with you. Pretending to be someone else may win temporary approval, but it will never bring lasting happiness. Staying authentic means knowing your worth and refusing to compromise your principles for acceptance or success. She reminds us that real strength comes from being grounded in your identity and your purpose, even when life challenges you to change for others. Michelle often speaks about how she stayed humble and connected to her roots despite living in the world's spotlight. She credits her family and upbringing for keeping her grounded and reminding her that kindness, integrity, and humility matter more than fame or recognition. She urges others to remember where they came from because your background is part of your strength, not something to hide. Living authentically also means standing firm in your beliefs, especially when it's uncomfortable. Michelle believes that when you act from your values, such as honesty, compassion, and respect, you inspire others to do the same. True leadership, she says, comes from being genuine, not from pretending to be perfect. She encourages people to embrace their uniqueness, because individuality is what makes each person powerful. When you live authentically, you attract the right opportunities and people who align with your vision. Michelle's message is that authenticity frees you from the burden of comparison and allows you to live with confidence and clarity. When you stay true to yourself and your values, you create a life filled with purpose, peace, and genuine fulfillment.